Associate Professor at PES University, Bangalore. Dr. Seema obtained Master of Science in Biotechnology from Mysore University, Master of Philosophy in Biotechnology from Bharatidasan University, and PhD in Biotechnology from Kuvempu University. She is working as Associate Professor in PES University and has a total experience of 25 years in teaching. She had two funded projects: principal investigator for a UGC minor research project for microbial mediated remediation of chromium in electroplating industry, and co-investigator for a CDAC sponsored project, that is detection of pebrine spores. The project has ended up in commercialization of the product under trade name PP Solution at Institute. She has 13 international and national journal publications and more than 50 conference paper presentations. She has presented papers in India, Malaysia, Dubai, Thailand, Qatar, and Singapore. She has guided more than 40 postgraduate and undergraduate student group and has organized national and international seminars, conferences, and workshops at Institute. She has organizational involvement like coordinator for BTFS and BICEP, sponsored by Government of Karnataka, coordinator for Indian Red Cross Wing Internal Adult Committee Community Development Programs. She is the member of Board of Studies of various colleges and chaired many sessions at international and national conferences. She has delivered guest talks and webinars at different levels. With this introduction, I will welcome Dr. Seema Taranam for this workshop. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, kind words. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Anuradha and Dr. Indu and all the staff members and management of Padma Shri Group of Institutions for inviting me to deliver this talk in this very important webinar that's happening around at a very long stretch. It's really students would be lucky to hear to all of these people with experience in such a vast manner. Thank you, and I'll start with the topic straight away. So the topic that was requested to me was to talk on publications in research. So I'll brief you on what exactly is publication. You would have heard people talk about research in the last few days. So if you have heard of all those important things of what a problem statement, how to come out with a title, how to talk about what is research, what are grants, what are the things that you have to keep in mind all the way, and what are ethical issues. You will listen to all of these in this very important webinar, virtual webinar happening around. I just want to start saying that with all that work that is done, there has to be an outcome, okay? And the outcome of your work would be a publication. You have to show the work that you have done. You have to have that people to read about you, read about your work, the uniqueness and the authentication that you have and the effort that you have put in your work. So with this, you end up into what is called as patenting or publication. So this comes only with experience. That's where I want to tell you that there is no way to get experience except through experience only. So not a thing. Every time we at this age of experience of around 25 years, each and every paper is new and it is a learning experience for us. So that is how I just want to tell you that why do people have to write? So actually speaking, the task of writing a research paper can be daunting. It's not that easy. You will do the work, you have noted your results, you have got into all that review of literature to identify the best protocol. You have found the gap, you have worked on it, you have the data with you. Now, confining all the data, writing thesis also would be sometimes easy, but writing a research paper is not that easy. You have to put all your effort. Thesis, I'm sure most of your postgraduate students, will come up to 50 to 100 pages, and it is an asset that you carry along with. But converting the whole of it into a 5 to 10 pages, not missing out anything, putting all across together, is what is publication. And that is not an easy job to publish wherever you want. You have to you have to get recognition. You have recognition only with a good publication. So that is how the task of writing a research paper is daunting. And even with the background, the ground breaking research, unless the paper is correctly written, it is a problem. At best, publication sometimes will be delayed if it is not good. At worst, what can happen is it will not get published, it will be rejected. So you live with this always, that you have to publish or perish. That would be the thing. Take it your post graduation. It's at times necessary that you have one publication at least. If you enter into a PhD program, it's mandate that you publish two. If you are into a job, assistant professor, associate professor, it becomes mandate that this becomes a need for your increments, need for your promotions. That is when the organizations will set that, okay, an assistant professor should publish one paper a year. That is how the institute also get credit for. There may be incentives given for the faculty for publications. So publication play a very important role. They will wait for 2 to 3 years, and if you are not into research and publication, other than teaching or into research, in whichever jobs that you go, it will be a concept of either publish or perish. So hence it becomes very necessary for a publication. I've been telling you about publication. What exactly is this? It is a written and published report describing your original work. Whatever original work that you have done, it should be documented and put across to public to read. And that is what is a publication. And why publish is for these many reasons. It will increase human knowledge. Your writing ability will be improved. It is a sense of satisfaction of completion of your work, but because you would have worked and it is just not lying in your book or observation. It should come out. People should read. Your community should read. Community is this fraternity, that research fraternity should know what exactly your work is, and thus work is promoted. You will definitely be recognized for what you have done. This is the reason why people publish, apart from all the reasons that I gave you, that there will be sometimes a pressure on us for eligibility criteria. Like whatever work that you do in your masters, it's always good to put it to the next level. I know thesis is what you will definitely write and submit, but come out with a publication with the mentors that you have. So you can always write, put in an effort to convert the whole of your thesis into this. At times, organizations like us, they tell that if a publication of oral presentation or a journal publication comes out of their thesis in journals of repute, they will straight away get S grade grading system, and they will get the topmost grade, because it's just not easy. But there is no compulsion at undergraduate level that they have to publish, or a postgraduate level. But some organizations do insist on these presentations, either as a poster or as an oral presentation or as a journal publication. But ultimately, the thing would be journal publication that have some weightage in. So what motivates to publish is dissemination. Just then the work has to be done. So you're bound with some responsibilities, mandates. So without two publications, a PhD thesis cannot be submitted. Hence, it will be done. As I told you, career prospects. So this is the data of percentage that was represented in the citation below that you are able to see. So it was reported there that dissemination 54%, career prospects 20%, because you will otherwise not be promoted, you will not be given increments, hence you have to publish. Improved funding, definitely. So if you have a project and you want to take an extension of it for the funding purpose, you have to show publications. That is when 13% of them would go forward for. And at times, ego also matters. When you are in a thing in a department with your colleagues, there will be a sort of competition. Oh, she is published, he is published. I also have to do to keep up the pace. That is when ego comes, is 9%, and patent protection 4%, and some other reasons given were 5%. So this is these may be the reasons for publication. But whatever it is, when you think of any publication, there are two things that can be linked together. One is the person who writes. He is called the author. The other aspect of it is the reader, the person who will rely on your work or to take it forward, or with some interest he would read. Now, you please understand what is the point of view of an author and what is the point of view of a reader in terms of behavior. What an author wants is to publish more and more and more and give credits to. So when she was reading my this thing resume or biodata, so it was like, okay, 13 publications. You get some sort of understanding that okay, she is into research. Or if I have asked my students to publish their project work, there are around 50 plus publications that are there at the conference levels. So it is that the work is done. I didn't keep it for myself. I wished that my students present it somewhere or the others. So that is what I want to publish more and more. I will not just sit idle, though I'm just a faculty or a teacher here. It will not be this. Make your students work, and that work take it forward to the next level is what we look for as a behavior of author. Peer review is essential. Other journal functions are crucial, and it has wider dissemination. What does a reader look for is he want to read a paper which is clear, concise, and less of text. It should not be complicated. He want integrated system. At times, to start with, if you want to look forward for a topic, you go for a review paper, not a research paper. That is when it is important. And the keywords that you use for browsing, that becomes crucial. Okay, and the quality information is very important. So today, if I have to look for, I look for the past 5 years research papers in that area which I want to work with, and definitely I look forward for a good impact factor journals, or good journals, not the local journals who publish just for the money's sake. They are there. All these aspects you will get to know as and how. So this was an Elsevier study. Elsevier is a brand that is there in the journals. You know about it. So study of 36,000 authors between 99 to 2002 was presented by Michael Mem in a seminar is the thing that is represented here. Now you have to see, are you potential enough and are you ready to come out with a publication? Just because you have to publish, not that any point of time you can start publishing. The one thing that you have to keep in mind is you have to have your original results and methods to take it forward. Significant enhancement of the published work. So there should be something over and above what is already done, work already done. So that is what we look forward for. and up-to-date review of the subject or the field if you're looking for a review paper or a research paper. It should not be outdated. That is what it means when you tell that you are ready. So the work advances the field. So you are taking the field to the next level. That is when you can tell that you are ready for publishing. If it is an outdated work, incorrect conclusion, you were expecting something, you have come out with a hypothesis which is an expected outcome statement, but you end up getting a negative result, publish that also, not a problem, but you have to reveal that it is negative. So you are taking the result to the next level so that people know that it is a negative result and they don't try on it. So, but you cannot come out with wrong perceptions. Just to prove that your hypothesis was so, you should not go manipulate things. That is what is incorrect conclusion. And you don't end up telling what to be done next. So that is incorrect conclusion. Or never duplicate your work. Yeah, sometimes people have this craze of publication where one project they want to split it into two so that they get two publications. There the quality will go down. Quality will go down. So same things, just the deviation in the end, with one protocol published in one paper, the other protocol published in the other paper. No, that is not the work that has any scientific interest. So that is when we tell that you are not ready. What makes a strong manuscript is the paper that comes out with. It's given by this name also called manuscript. What makes it strong? So when you are ready, what is that what you have to keep in mind? So editors, reviewers, and readers, these are the people you should target for. They always want to receive and read well presented manuscript or a well presented research paper, because the search engines that are there. If you go to just Google Scholar and put keywords, and if you know the author, put author's name, put the field of interest that they work with. For example, if you just Google Seema Tarannum with chromium, electroplating, and PS University, you will get all the research papers that I have published. If you are interested in chromium, confine that to chromium remediation. And if you want to specify bioremediation. You will get all the papers other than mine who have written about chromium remediation, bioremediation. You want to further screen it, then go further, narrow it down to chromium bioremediation using bacteria. Give the keyword as bacteria. Then furthermore, the keywords will screen more concised research papers. So this is how you have to search for a good manuscript. So which will be selected? The one with all these things represented in your paper. That is a strong manuscript. Please understand, you get the value of those manuscripts after publication with the citation. You will definitely get to know about citation index and other things, maybe with the lecture of Dr. Shilpa, but this is what is important. How many writing and publishing is a first criteria. The next would be to understand how many people read my paper and they have cited in their work. That citation will get me credits. So this is the reason why it becomes necessary that your manuscript is strong with all those keywords mentioned and written in your work, because whoever wants paper will look forward for those keywords only, and based on the keywords only your paper will be reflected in the site wherever they are search engines. So it should be clear, useful, and it should convey an exciting message. And your advertising agent is your abstract. First, they will reflect only your abstract. So that gives you publicity. You should write a very crisp, that 150 to 200 words of the first paragraph that you write as a wholesome knowledge of your work. So that is abstract. So it should be presented and constructed in a logical manner. allowing the readers to easily grasp the significance of your work so that they read the whole of your manuscript. And if they have read and taken any data, definitely they will cite it. That gives credit to you. The other aspect that you should know is they can be of different types. At this level of post graduation, definitely you would have started working or having in mind what is that what you want to work with. It may be relevant to any of your field of interest. So it start collecting the data. That is what is review of literature. With so many papers collected, you can go ahead compiling the whole of the data of people who have already worked. Such is a representation of an article called review paper. So it summarizes of all the recent developments that have happened in your work. So, and the conclusion telling that there is a scope for the next level. So what is that next level is what you have to catch hold of and try to work in that field. It's often submitted by invitation. Then you have whatever work that is done that you want to represent as full article or journal article or research article. That is what is the name given to it. This is substantial, complete and comprehensive piece of your work that you will represent. There also, in conclusion, you should end up telling what is the success of your work and what is the scope for the further studies. And then there are something called as short communications or short articles. This is quick and early communications. Are my results so thrilling that they should be shown as soon as possible is a question mark that can be answered in good weightage is given for to start with a review paper and then ultimately a research paper that has to come out with. And the next thing is, before writing the paper, make sure what is the journal that you want to publish in. So selection of the right journal is very important. Today we talk about quality in each and everything. So you aim to reach the intended audience for your work. So we all are now literate enough to understand which paper do I go with. So if somebody comes and asks me, I will tell, go please look for Elsevier or Nature or Science and many of these. Not necessary at your level. You can at least now look forward for what is written in the blue at the end. We look forward for Scopus indexed, ICARE UGC listed journals because they review every year to know which are the journals that are important. Never go for pay and publish concept. Otherwise, to our mail ID, every day at least 4 or 5 journals do invite us to contribute research paper or an article in their journal, charging from 500 rupees to thousands also. And they tell that it is just published in a week's time. Don't believe so, because that will not get you quality, because your paper will not be peer reviewed. It's just for the money's sake. You will go ahead publishing, which will not be accepted by any of the platform of assessment. So please go with the quality in your publication. That is when the selection of the journal is very important. Aim to reach this audience, because the audience will look forward for a good journal, good publisher. Choose only one journal, as parallel submissions are prohibited. You cannot publish your article in more than one journal at a time. You first look forward for one. If it is not accepted there, modify and then submit it somewhere else. Don't submit parallelly in 2 places to take a chance that whichever comes first is fine. No, you can't do that. Supervisor and colleagues can provide good suggestions. So always discuss in a peer team. Shortlist a handful of candidate journals. So that is important. And then look for the journal's shortlist, like aim and scope of it, type of articles considered, then academic versus practice that is there in readership, and subscription versus whether it is open access or not, paid journal, and speed of publication. That is also very important. Please see, as a postgraduate, you will be left with some 2 months, 3 months time to show publication before your exam gets over. So in that case, you have to make sure, see, always any of the research paper will be given the date of receiving, the date of modification, and the date of publication. So see that it should not be like years together. It should be in terms of months, so that you have enough of time to publish before it is. Because the time that you have between the completion of the work and the degree that you get with exams is quite short. Look for that speed also. 3 to 6 months is a common time that we look forward for. And the peer review process, whether it is single blind, double blind, or is it open, is what you have to look for. So peer review is very important. That gives quality to your publication. And the bibliometrics, as I told you, we have a standard that if anybody in PES have to get an incentive for the publication, it should be Scopus Index, it should be UGC listed with a good impact factor. Priorities of the readers for the readers are the quality articles, ease of access, rapid delivery, convenient format, linking of information clustering. Then you have low or no cost. There should not be charged things, and up-to-date information. So this is what readers look for. So keeping this in mind, you start writing. Now, let me just take a few minutes to explain you the major components or elements of publishing. One, always keep ethical issues in mind. Then style and language, structure of the paper, components of the paper, article submission or journal selection, and then peer review process or the publisher's process. All of these are the components that get started with you and end up into a publication. I'll take each one of it 2 minutes to explain what does this include. Ethical issues are, please don't get into something called as plagiarism. Okay, so this is copy pasting. Copy pasting is not accepted here. You do take the data from the published papers, but you give credit through the citations that you give. And the other way, you can take the data, put the citation, but the component has to be rephrased. Otherwise, this trend was not there some 10 to 15 years back when we started our career. The problem that came out was because people started copy pasting and publishing. That is when this software has come out now called plagiarism. One more thing I want to tell you here is, please don't get your article checked in the web-based plagiarism softwares that are freely available. The data of yours will get into the web and your own data will be shown as plagiarized material. Always go with authentication. So go with a authenticated plagiarism check that would be there in your institute. Don't reveal the data that you have with anywhere in public. And whatever you have reported definitely would be checked with plagiarism. And here the uniqueness of your work will be reflected, and the acceptance level is around 15% and less, not more than that, the plagiarism. So uniqueness should be more than 85 to 90%. So the plagiarism should be not more than 15%. This is what is accepted. And you have to sign some documents given by the publisher, like for the conflict of interest, that this is your original work. All authors have no discrepancy in agreeing to the norms of the authorship or whatever it is, and all the authors should sign on it and submit a document. And once you submit, that's it. You don't have to write over that article again. That is all to be disclosed. Acknowledgement for funding sources. So if you have a project funding and you have worked with using their funds, you have to use it in acknowledgement. It is also told that if you are getting your work done in a lab for some assessment, and if you have paid that lab for the work, getting that work analysis done, okay, you don't have to use that source, the person, to be in the authors list. You can definitely acknowledge them in the last part of it, in the acknowledgements. So you should not forget to acknowledge all the people who were your of help. Okay, definitely for your guide and the peer team in the college would be given authorship, but supporting system will be acknowledged in the end. Image manipulation guidelines would be there, that has to be there, represented. Institutional review board committee should be there always to maintain the quality, to give you approvals. So at the institutional level, 3 or 4 member committee can be there to go through your work, check the plagiarism, and then allow you to permit. Follow these norms. That is what is ethical. Then comes style and language. Refer to the journal's author guide. Some authors write their paper with a specific journal in mind. Go ahead with it. Otherwise, write the paper and then adopt to fit it into a thing, a journal, because each journal will have their own rules and norms and set regulations to go through. So follow Times New Roman 12 and start writing in a text form, and then fit into whichever font, whichever style that they tell you. Objective is to report your finding. That should be the main thing, which is clear and concise. And English becomes a major thing here. The language should be very good. Not necessary that all will have good English. That is when you can get it reviewed by a neutral person who knows English. And there are many sites which will help you write the paper. There is no harm in getting that written. It's only that the data has to come out. You would pay and then get it done, reviewed. That is also fine. And you find a colleague or an editor to review the content and the language of the paper who is an expertise. So always keep that language and style, give a priority to these two things. Next is the structure of the paper. To start with, before writing the paper, you make these folders, which comes in a format of IMRAD. IMRD, main thing. A is just a link there. I stands for introduction, M stands for materials and methods, R stands for results, and D stands for discussion. This is to be opened and put in the material. So this scientific writing has to follow a rigid structure, and this has been done over hundreds of years. And people select the paper based on their title. At times they look for both title and abstract, and then go forward to pay and get the paper allotted to them to read it. Or people will read the full text and then decide whether they have to cite or not. So you have to keep in mind these aspects and draft. So the first draft will come out, which is in a random order, that is fine. But next you put across all your ideas with headings and subheadings and generate a order in this format. Right? Abstract should always be written in the end after you finish your complete paper. Introduction, materials and methods, then is the result. These are the three major things of the complete structure, and then you will write definitely discussion or conclusion and references, that is the literature cited. As and how you include that in introduction or review of literature, you should start citing it in the thing. So this is the structure. Title is very important. What is that? What you have to keep in mind to each one of this in research paper is what I will be discussing. So title, abstract, keywords are what people look for at the first level, and then see if the paper is interesting. That is when I told you abstract is the identity of your paper. It should be good enough with representation of data in it. It has three structures: introduction, body, and conclusion. It should have all that is there in your result in terms of percentage or numbers. And then keywords and search and find later for introduction, methods, and results and discussion. And then come to your story by telling conclusion, what you have done, what is the success story, and what you have ended up with. And then end up writing acknowledgement, references, and the supporting material, annexures. There will be many annexures. You will have that and provide the context. The components of the paper are these many things. Title will help you clearly describe the contents. Authors will ensure the recognition for the writer, all of those people involved in the study. Abstract describes what is done. Keywords ensures that the article is correctly identified by people when they are searching for. Introduction will explain the problem statement, review of literature and everything. Methods will tell you in past tense in paragraph what the data is, that what you have looking for, and the protocols that you have used. Results will describe what is discovered, and discussion will tell you in comparison to somebody's work, how efficient or in what percentage is your work better than or not in a discussion. So you will always compare your results and the implications of the findings in discussion. Acknowledgement, ensure that whichever funding agency or whoever has helped you in the research work are recognized. References will ensure previous published work that has been cited in the introduction and review of literature. And appendices or annexures are the supplement data that is required. For example, you may repeat a protocol some 10 times in the methodology. You don't have to repeat every time. You give the protocol in annexure and you just tell that this was the protocol. That is how some journals need those supplemental data. When you start with the first one, authors listing, under this, you have to be ethical here, that only include those people who have made an intellectual contribution to your research. Those who will publicly defend the data and conclusions and who have approved the final version, your teachers, your counterparts, all of these should be recognized. The order of the names of the authors can vary from discipline to discipline. In some fields, the corresponding author names comes first. Here I have written that some journals use alphabetical order, good enough. Otherwise, you have to decide on. And this has to be done initially. Before deciding on the paper only, you should make sure who will be the first author and who will be the middle authors and who will be the last authors. The first author is primarily the person who is completely involved in the work, collecting and analyzing the data and then writing also. The last one will be an investigator or your guide who has given the ideas and who have monitored you throughout. The overall responsibility of the study is what the last author takes up. And the middle authors are all listed according to the order of their contribution. So some would have given 100%, some 80%, and some lazy people would have given just 20 to 30%, put them as the third author. That is how it goes. Corresponding author is always given by this star, which puts paper together, and he is the person to correspond to if somebody wants any data. There are something called as ghost authors, where living out authors who should be included. They have not been involved in anything, just because they are there around you, you have to include them. Or there are something called gift authors, where include authors when they did not contribute anything significantly, just because sometimes a husband into the research and the wife is also there in the research. Whenever husband publishes, wife put across, or if you are close friends, two close friends, whenever I publish, I put my friend's name, and there is understanding that that when the friend publishes, she puts my name. So that is a concept of gift authors or ghost authors, which usually should not happen. This is just to show you that these both are my papers, research papers. One was published in 2011, the other one little later. What you can see is my name, Seema Tarannu, put up as the first author in the first paper. This was the time when I was doing my research. I was a main author, and the subsequent authors are my guides who helped me work with it. But as and how I became guide and I started guiding students, I make students publish the data, and you can see that my name is come to the end because I'm the overall responsible person who have come here with all my students' name represented before me. Ankita, Prakriti, and Sneha. When you cannot decide on anybody, go with alphabetical orders. That is suggested, because you may ask a question that what if everybody is put in an effort? Then please go with alphabetical order. That is what I did here, because all the three girls were very good in their work. A, P, and S. That's how it came up to. Otherwise, give a credit to the person who has worked most and then the other. So this is how the work goes. Title is an important aspect where your paper is definitely defined. There are some rules in writing a title, and this advertises your article, and not too much of lengthy one of less than 12 words and 100 characters is what is required, and it is actually a label for your work. So it should be easy to understand, and more impact should be there in the title that you write. And when you write abstract, there are rules that it should be less than 150 words, okay? And the reader can decide whether or not to read the whole article based on this summary. So your abstract should be very strong. It is the advertising agent that is there. And this should be crisp into three parts of introduction of why did you start this work, what was the protocol that was used with in the research, and what is the outcome of it, all put together in 150 words is abstract. This should have 4 C's in it. It should be complete, concise, clear, and cohesive. These are the good features that we look forward for, and end up writing keywords of around 5 to 6 numbers, not those that are there in title, but those that are there in your text. Then comes introduction, and you would have learned all of this in your the series of the webinar. I'll not take much time. I'll just tell you what is included in introduction here is the reason for why this problem, what was the problem, why did you start, why did you take this to be your research work, your hypothesis, what is that the present work is looking forward for, and what would be the expected outcome, and the objectives all put together is what you write it in a brief description, is like hypothesis, research question, or problem statement, and the experimental design and method involved in with review of literature is what is introduction. Then comes methodology. Methodology is you would have referred a protocol that was already established. Just see if you want to deviate something, you please write it. Everything written in paragraph in past tense is what is methodology. This is to be recorded. Make sure what instruments you use, and when and how, as and how you use those instruments, you have to be very careful to understand that the measure, the instrument used, the model number, and the unit of measurement is all recorded in your observation. So when you write, it should be very clear how many 100 ml, 100 mg, right? All those units have to be represented very carefully. And as and how you get results, the same headings and subheadings will be followed in results and represent your findings. Whatever you get as a result will be represented in the form of tables and figures logically. And always there is a rule to label figures at the bottom and table on the top. You see this in any of the journal. This is how it is represented. That's one of a rule. And anything like a graph or a picture of an instrument or a picture of your sample is called as figure. You should not write it in different names. It all comes under figures. They should have a brief description written at the bottom, and never represent both table or graph. That's enough. Any one is enough. That is to be kept in mind. And the last is the discussion and conclusion. Here you have to compare your result to somebody else's paper and write clearly what did person X or Y understood and what was his percentage of uh, result and what was your percentage. Is it your opinion can also be given here to understand, is it better or in terms of efficiency, is it low? You can always represent as and how you have got. That is what is with the author's name directly put in text, you can discuss. That is the feature of discussion. In acknowledgements, you will write advisors, financial supporters and funders, proofreaders, typists, whoever has helped you in lab, some technician would have helped you, in supplying samples, somebody would have helped you, donate the material. Do acknowledge everybody that is there. You should not miss out this. And when you write references, I should tell you that nothing should be missed out. This is the credit that you would be giving it to all the papers you have read to find a gap and then go ahead with the publication. So please acknowledge by citing them in the bibliography or in references. There are different formats. People do use Mendeley these days. That is also one step that you can look forward for. And there are different styles called Harvard style and Vancouver style. You might be aware of it. At times in research paper, you will see citation in the form of writing author's name, comma, date of publication in bracket. That is called Harvard style. And if it is represented in a square bracket with number written as it is reflected in the references, it is called Vancouver style. So this is what is called citation. Never miss out this. As and how you represent and your paper gets published, the author that you have represented will be intimated to know that his paper is cited here. That is when it becomes necessary. So usually this sort of the thing goes with alphabetical order, but this Vancouver style may not go with alphabetical order like how it is represented based on identification. It appears in the text. For example, a paper written by Adams is represented first with Lascelles in the second, and though Bennett comes in B, his paper was third. So not represented in alphabetical order. So this is all the rules that will be represented in research paper. Just follow those. And the last part of it is article submission. So select your journal carefully and follow all those guidelines they have told. And as I told you, it should not be submitted in more than one journal at a time. Go with one journal, see what their result would be, and then come back. So there are some priorities I'll not go for, like mainly impact factor, reputation of the paper, whether it is open access or publication speed. And as I told you, all of these are important. This is the review process. When you submit a paper after putting in all your effort, believe me, it will take around 2 to 3 months to completely sit together with the data after completion of work to write a research paper. So submit that, you get a confirmation of receipt. Initial discussion will happen with your paper with the editor. At that level only, he'll see if it belongs, if it is in the purview of their objective, they will take it forward for review purpose, or else at that time only they will tell you without going to an expert only, it will be told that it is rejected for the reason that it is not under their objective. Then if it is accepted further, it will go to review, that is peer review. It will be assigned to reviewers. Reviewers should accept. It will go to more than one person, blind, without your name and other things. The reviewers will accept with to review. Then they will be given some time to complete and give result in three ways. Either it can be rejected straight away if the quality of it is not good, or it will go to acceptance directly if it is very good, or if there is any scope of refining, it will go to revise and submit. In these cases, a notification will be sent to author whether it is accepted or revised. Rejection also will be notified. If it is accepted, directly it will go for publishing in the next few journals that comes out, in their issues that comes out. If it has to be revised, it will go with the revision. They'll give you the comments of the reviewers to modify which protocol, which page, what level, and then they'll be given, you will be given a time to resubmit, do that and get back to them, and then it will be accepted and published. So these are the stages that it goes through. So after submission, most journal editors will make an initial decision on the paper, and then mainly editors will appoint two referees, blind referees they'll be. Speed is important. They should monitor that you can't do anything. They have to monitor the speed, and then they have to accept with revision, minor or major, or directly reject. So this is what is important. And once you have submitted, you will give them the copyright of it. So you will sign a copyright. So you have given complete authority for the publisher to take care of your journal. You no more will have, you have the credit of publication that you can put up in your resume or wherever, that's all. But you don't have the right to make copies of it and then circulate or sell. The right of it is only restricted to the publisher. That is when, if an abstract is there, that abstract will be read. If they click on the full text, it may be like ask for some amount to be paid. So that is the authoritative thing that is there with publisher. So that's all about the thing that I wanted to discuss with publication. The last slide, there are some tips that need to be remembered. Editors and reviewers are looking for original, innovative research. So please keep in mind that for research-based papers, ensure that you have enough numbers to justify a sound statistical conclusion. These days, any work that you do, we expect you to do it in triplicates. Never come out with conclusions just with one basic data. Always calibrate your instruments and then do it. And justify with errors or standard errors that are there. So include some statistics in your work. That is what is expected. For a larger study, it may be better to produce one important research paper rather than splitting that just for the number into many. This is one thing that you have to keep in mind. This is the summary of all what I have told you of submitting or publishing your data. Read the instructions carefully, format it according to their style. One variation here and there also, these Elsevier and other people will not take it. It should go line by line in a perfect way. Send the manuscript to the editor, await for the acknowledgement, wait for reviewers' comments, don't force them, they'll take their own time. Yes, indeed, if it goes beyond 2 months and all, you can always write back to them, getting to know the status of your paper. And then if you get any comments, address all those comments, keep the deadline of the submission and submit it back and return the revised manuscript to the editor with the changes that you have made. Read the proof sent by the editor again. Before publication, they'll send you a proof for getting to know if everything is perfect or if there is any technical issues related to that. Return the proof back before the deadline. Complete and return the copyright form to the editor. With this, you are giving an authority for the publisher to take complete care of your paper. Wait to see the article printed, and that print that comes out is what is your outcome of the work that you would have done. So this is not an easy task, believe me, till paper accepted. If individual has to go through, there will be lot and lot of obstacles. Don't lose out your heart. Don't lose out at this. That is what gives you ultimate satisfaction when you reach your goal of publishing. With publication only, you will be satisfied with the work that you have done. So go with it without any. So thank you. If you have any doubts, I'll take it up. Sorry, I took a little more time. And that is what I wanted to convey and just do justice to the topic given to me. And that was this. Dr. Rashmi, any questions, I can take it up.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Dr. Rashmi. It was a very nice presentation, and I hope students they have got to know how to write a paper because they have just started with the project. So, ma'am, I just want to ask on behalf of the students, because many of the students will be in a dilemma, like they'll be taking multiple, topics. Yes. And especially for the microbiology students and the biotech students, they'll be doing a similar type of work with different organisms. Yes. So in that sense, how will be the credential if they put the similar work in different journal in the long run?
As long as the organism that they have taken is unique. Okay. And as long as their work is unique, because definitely they can work with many organisms. Either there should be a deviation in the work that has already been done. That is when we start any project with a problem statement and a gap identified. So with that, we can very well address the students' need. So as long as it is unique, they can go ahead publishing in different journals also. But definitely in plagiarism, you will get to know if there is any issue like that. They will reject. So if it is accepted, please understand that your work was good enough. And don't compromise with techniques and other things. For example, these days, just characterizing with a biochemical test in case of microbiology has become very simple. Don't do such things. Add some value to your work. Value in the sense, do something beyond that. Identify the organism which is unknown using a 16S rRNA sequencing done. That is to the next level. So keep up the pace for what there is demand in the thing in the nature. So just refer some of these Elsevier and nature papers and science paper and see what is that additional simple thing. Not investing much. I know some of some of those protocols is not possible in your lab. Do all to the 90% or 95% in your lab only. But if a small component can be added to your work by doing it in a very eminent lab outside, like sometimes adding scanning electron microscopy study or transmission electron microscopy, some analysis, or FTIR analysis or GCMS analysis and all of these, that would add to your work, and that can be unique and you can clearly publish that data. Not a problem if you are working with the same concepts but two different organisms. You can always do that and publish.
So you mean to say that every paper, whatever we publish, should be a higher level than the previous one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So no problem, as I understand, you are postgraduate students who are starting with your work now. I think with this understanding, what Dr. Anuradha Madam has thought of giving you an exposure to, now you will understand that keeping all these things in mind, you will come out with very good work. So just plan the work in such a way now itself, so that these are the headings and subheadings you have to just fill up to come out with a publication. And it is always good to have a publication at a postgraduate level, uh, to either look into jobs or higher studies later. At a post-graduation level, you have to make sure you have a publication. That gives credit to your resume also. No doubts? Anything else? You have to do extensive review of literature to find the gap of what you can do it. And your college would definitely be well equipped with the instrumentation. Just go ahead with those preliminary things, but have some advanced component to complete your work with a data. So proof is what is important. Okay, I just take this opportunity to thank again Dr. Anuradha and Indu, Dr. Rashmi, Dr. Shilpa, all of those who are associated with this, and all the staff members who are involved with this in arranging this webinar and giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Really, it was a wonderful talk and very informative also. Thank you once again, ma'am, for this nice talk. Students, still, if you have any doubts or discussions, chat box is open. You can ask, ma'am.
Yes, I'm there.
Ma'am, I hope further no questions, I guess.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Yes. We'll move on to the next session. For the next talk, I would like to invite Dr. Shilpa S., Assistant Professor at Padma Shri Institute of Management and Science, Bengaluru. Dr. Shilpa S. obtained her MSc in Biotechnology from Bangalore University in the year 2006. She also done her PhD in Biotechnology in the year 2019. She worked as a senior research fellow at Molecular Biology Lab, Division of Biotechnology, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore, from the year 2010 to 2015. She also worked as research associate trainee in silico Department of Jubilant Biosis, Bangalore, from the year 2007 to 2008. She has also published many research articles and she has attended various national seminars and also the workshops. With this brief introduction, I will welcome Dr. Shilpa S. for her talk on indexing for publications. Ma'am, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Madhushri, for the wonderful introduction. Um, as we have come to the end of the workshop that was organized for the PG students on research and innovation and methodologies to be followed in research, and then how do you publish and all those really important aspects. Dr. Seema Madam has made my work very easy by presenting her talk on publications. So she has very clearly mentioned what is a publication, why one has to publish an article or a research work that they have done, and what should be the structure of the paper that should be published, and what are the guidelines to be followed according to the journal requirements, how to format your research paper. Everything was clearly dealt by Dr. Seema Madam. So I think students have understood all the points that Seema madam has told. So now I'll be just discussing about the indexing of publications. Okay, next slide. So before moving into the actual topic of indexing of publications, so let us now discuss about how do researchers communicate, okay, or how do academicians communicate about their research work that they have carried out. Okay, there are two ways that the researchers do communication. That is one way is through the formal method, and the other way is through the informal method. So the formal method here adapts several different what do you say methods, like you discuss in university cafeterias, you discuss in what do you say staff room, lunch rooms, etc. Okay, the staff or the faculty or the researcher who is involved in the actual research work discusses about his ideas, his results that he's got, and what exactly he is expecting, and all those things would be discussed. Then another idea to share or communicate his research work that has been done is through the email, and telephone is also one of the means of communicating about the research findings that an academician or a researcher is found out, or something he's got after the conduct of the actual research. Okay, next formal way of communicating among the researchers or among the community to reach a larger population is through the congresses. That is the science, it might be science congresses or something like that. And it might be through conferences, symposiums, and through summits. Okay. So the next formal method might be through using web as a tool, that is through blogs and through Twitter, etc. And then there's something called as data sharing banks and databases, where you'll be given a space where you can share your data that you've got out of your research, and then their access would be given to various researchers who are working in the same field, and those people who are really interested to get to know about the actual work going on in their field, they can just browse in those data banks to get the information or recent updates about what is happening in their area of research. Okay, and then comes repositories. Repositories are again nothing but like databases itself, where the actual work of the researcher would be deposited, or it would be stored there for utilization. One such repository is nothing like an example of one such repository is NCBI, that is National Center for Biotechnology Information, where you get all the information regarding the biological sciences data. If you want a DNA structure sequence, if you want an RNA sequence information, or what is the annotation, how is the protein being expressed in a gene. So if you want any such information, if a researcher has worked on such genes, or if a researcher has worked on certain organism with any unique property, that researcher could deposit his information or deposit his data that he has obtained, and then anybody can access it by browsing the data that has been deposited there. Okay, that is about the first method of communicating among the researchers. Then comes the informal way. The informal way is that informal, the term itself tells informal, where you'll be giving the complete information of what you have done. Okay, so informal way of communicating is through scientific papers. That is the first methodology of informal way of communicating between the researchers. That is through scientific papers, where you will share all your information. That is, how did you do? That is, starting from the introduction, why this idea was conceptualized. Then how did you carry out? That is the methods and materials and the methodology followed. And finally, you'll also discuss about the results that you obtain, and after getting the results, you will also discuss about how the results are contradicting your objectives. Okay, so you'll be giving a complete information. That is why it is an informal way of communicating in the form of scientific papers. Then comes books and monographs. Again, books and monographs gives us a complete information about any particular field that we are interested in. Then again comes reference books. Reference books are nothing but like similar to textbooks that you read for any particular subject. Okay, then comes proceedings papers, and then comes at the end short communications. So even in short communications, it will be a very short way of publishing your work, but there you will be giving all the complete details that you do, so that the people who read that could understand what exactly has been done. Okay, so this is how a researcher or a community of academicians or community of researchers who are working share their data or share their information, what has been done out of their research work. That is the way of communicating. Okay, so the next slide tells you about what are the steps to be followed before publishing. Okay, so we came to know that there are two methods of what do you say, communicating, that is formal and the informal way. In the informal way comes the papers and the books, proceeding papers and all those things. So there comes the actual scientific publications that need an attention on, and how do you publish a scientific paper. First thing, before going for publication, you have to carry out your research work. So to carry out your research work, the first thing you have to do is define a question, or define you have to identify a problem. Okay, so define a question or identify a problem that you have to work on, and then gather the information regarding the question or regarding the problem that you have chosen to work on. Is there any work priorly done on it, or is it a novel work that you're carrying out, or is there any sort of information that you can get through any other previously published research work. So you have to gather the information, so which will be the second step of carrying out your research work. Then comes form an explanatory hypothesis. Form an explanatory hypothesis means, here, after finding out or gathering the information regarding the previous work, now you have to do something novel. You can't repeat the same thing what previous researcher has published or worked on. So you have to do something novel. So you have to give an explanatory hypothesis or explanatory reasoning how you will solve the problem that you've chosen. Okay, that is the third step. Then the next step is test the hypothesis. Test the hypothesis means, in the previous step, you have explained that how you will be carrying out your research work to solve the problem. So you have to now actually work on how you have planned, how you have explained your hypothesis. So test the hypothesis. So carry out the research work for solving the problem or the question that you have taken up. Then comes after testing the problem, and after getting the data, you have to analyze the data. You have to see whether the data you've got is correlating to your objectives, and what exactly is the data that has been obtained out of your research work. So all that needs some analysis to be done. So that is the next step, which tells analysis of the data. Then the next step tells interpret the data. That is nothing but, you've got some data as results. So you will have to discuss about the results. So how far your results are fulfilling the objectives that you have taken as a solution for your problem. Okay, so you have to interpret or discuss about the results that you have got. Then the last step here being told is publish the results. So it is all the pre-preparatory work that you do before going to publish a paper or a research article. That is the last step, that is publish the results through the right channel. Okay, so you will have to publish your results that you have obtained through your research work through a right channel. Okay, so what is that right channel? Next slide, please. What is that right channel? So the right channel here might be a manuscript or a research article. So as Seema madam has already told about the publication, how it has to be structured and all those things. So I'll not be dealing in detail about all those aspects. So I'll just give you what is a definition of manuscript. Manuscript is nothing but a structured document that is original, and it is handwritten or typed regarding the author's own work. Okay, so it is nothing but a document which is having the original research work that is being carried out by a researcher. Okay, so a researcher and the author of the paper would be the actual person who has carried out the research work. Okay, so the next thing that you have to know is publish. What is publish? To publish is to make the content available to public. Okay, so so you have the results obtained. You have already written the manuscript also. Now the manuscript is ready to be published. So what is the intention of publishing? The intention of publishing is to make the research work results that you've obtained to be known to the public, to be known to the community who are working in the similar lines or similar area. Okay, so the word publication means the act of publishing, and it also refers to any printed copy of a document that has been structurally written. Okay, so publications can be a book, it can be a bulletin, it can be a newspaper, it can be a magazine, it can be a leaflet, it can be a flyer, or it can be a journal also. Okay, a journal article here. Journal means a journal article. Okay, so it can be any of these that the publication means. Okay, next slide. So what do we need to publish here? So we have after discussing that what is a manuscript, what are the different types of publications. So we have to know why do we need to publish? Why do we have to publish? As I was telling, just to make the community that is working in the similar line as yours to know the information that the results that you have got is something novel and you have done something something new. Okay, so first thing is to disseminate our work to our community, disseminate the knowledge that you have obtained, disseminate the new data, that the new results that you have obtained through your work to the community. That is the first aim. Then comes to gain prestige and recognition from our peers. Okay, so why do you have to publish? You have to publish because you should get some recognition, you should get some name out of it. Okay, so that is the second aim. Then comes to show our research performance to our funding bodies. Okay, so funding bodies here mean that if you're working for any projects that are sanctioned by any organizations which are giving you certain funds and resources for carrying out the research that you are planned for. Okay, so you have to show that you have done something out of the funds that you have taken from them. So to show our research performance to our funding bodies, we have to publish. So through publication, you can show that so you have carried out this work and you've got this result and you have solved the question for the problem solution for the solution for the problem that you have chosen for. Okay, then comes the last aim of publishing is to validate our findings. To validate our findings here means that through publication you will be telling the community that I have, as Seema madam was telling, you will have to follow scientifically well-versed practicing of methodology for carrying out your research work. That is, you should go for replications and you should calibrate your instruments for before going for your actual work to be carried out. So after all these things, you will try to get some results and you will be trying to validate those results by publishing your results. So you'll be telling the community that I did this research work by taking up three replications on such and such an organism or such and such a plant, and then I carried out this methodology. I modified this method to get my results. So you will be validating your findings here. So that is the reason one more reason to or one more aim why you have to publish. Okay, so that is the need to publish. So now we will move on into the actual definition of journal. What is a journal? A journal is a periodical presenting of articles with a particular subject or professional activity. Okay, a journal can be a periodical. Periodical means it is published regularly. It can be the research articles or the articles are published every month, like it might be called a monthly, or it might be published half yearly, or it might be published in a year, that is once in a year, a yearly publication. So it is like, that is why the term is given as a periodical presentation of articles. Okay, that deals with a particular subject or a professional activity, that is which deals with one particular area as such. Okay, journal articles are shorter than books and written about very specific topics. Okay, so the articles that are published in journals are not very elaborate or very detailedly explained like books. Okay, so journal articles are shorter. Okay, and they just tell about what they have worked on specifically and what was the result they got. Okay, and then a journal is a collection of articles that is published regularly throughout the year. That is, as I was telling, it might be published every month, it might be published 3 months once, it might be published half yearly, or it might be published once in a year also. Okay, so a journal is a collection of the research articles that are published regularly throughout the year. So journals present the most recent research, and journal articles are written by experts and for experts. Okay. Usually, as I was telling, when you're planning your research work, you will have to gather the information that has already been done. So you have to do something new than what has been already done. So that is why the journals present most recent research. They publish the recent work that has been carried out. And also it is written by the experts. That is, experts here mean that the research work carried out by you is like you're solving a particular problem by studying it very deeply. So you will become an expert there. So it is written by experts and it is also for experts. Experts means who are already working in this field. Okay. So the next point tells the journal articles may be published in print or online formats or in both versions. Okay. So that is how journals are published, or journals are what do you say? It might be in a printed manner, or it might be in an online format, or it might be in both the formats. Okay. The next slide, please. So we have learned about why do we need to publish. Then here comes why should we publish in journals as such. Okay. So as I was telling, journals are shorter versions of publishing your research work rather than books, right? So journals are currently the main vehicle for scholarly communication. Okay. So these are the main vehicles or main agents or tools that are used to communicate among the scholars or communicate among the researchers who are working in a particular field. Next comes journals ensure peer review and quality control. Okay. So when you're publishing your research work, in any journal, there would be like a peer review process that is being done. So Seema madam has explained about the peer review process in a very easily manner through the flow chart. Okay. So peer review here means the experts who are already working in this area would review the work that you've done. So they would try to analyze the results that you've got, try to analyze the data you've got, whether it is an authenticated data, and then whether it could be whether the paper or a publication could be accepted or rejected, or it could be told to be revised. Okay. So that is what do you say? That is the process that is involved in peer reviewing. That is, the experts who are working in the similar field will be reviewing your paper. And then it is also one of the way of quality control. That is, the quality of your work would be judged by those experts. Okay. So that is why it is very important to publish your work in journals. Okay. And then comes, journals are one of the main evaluation measures for funding bodies. Okay, so why you have to publish your research work in a journal? Why? Because it is one of the very important evaluation tool for the funding bodies. That is, as I've already told, the need to publish also stressed upon this point. That is, the funding agency which is giving you funds or resources to carry out your research work would try to evaluate your performance or your credibility of working on solving particular problem. Is through the publication and where you publish, in which journal you publish. Okay, so journals are one of the main evaluation tools that are used as a measure for funding agencies or funding bodies. Next comes, journal represents a fast way to communicate our findings. Okay, so as I was telling in the first slide itself, how researchers communicate about the data or results that they have got. Okay, so journals are one of those means that could help in communicating those findings or research results that have obtained in a very faster manner. Okay, so that is why you have to publish the research work that you've done in a journal as such. Okay, so what is the role of journals for researchers? Okay, the importance of journal in academic lives goes beyond a means of communication and a permanent record. Okay, it is not only for communicating or creating a permanent record. There is the importance of these journals is having a lot more prospects rather than just communicating or having a record of something that you've done. Okay, journal articles are the final output of most research, and a researcher's performance and productivity are judged largely on number of publication, as well as where they appear. Okay, so as I'm telling here, the journal articles that you have published, that is the research papers that are being published in certain journals, will be telling about your productivity and how your output is and what is the performance level, and that is like a judging criteria for giving you a promotion or to excel in your professional career. That is how you will be judged based on the number of publication you have and where exactly you have published your journals. Okay, and then the next role of journals for a researcher is they are central to career paths, including for both funding and appointments. That is the next important point, as I've already discussed. And it has been it has been come to known that after conducting certain author surveys, that is survey on certain authors who write the research articles, so they were asked the question, why do you want to publish in journals? So at that point of time, those authors gave the answer that they wanted to advance in their career. Advance in their career means getting promoted to higher levels. So that is the reason they published. And the next and the next answer they gave was for future funding. Future funding here means they want to secure grants, they want to secure projects. Okay, so they want to apply for postdoctoral fellowship or any other fellowship. So for future funding also they wrote or they published in good journals. Okay, so author surveys confirm that advancing my career and future funding are important motivations in publishing their work. So there were the motivation, so these two were the motivational reasons for them to publish their work in certain journals. Okay, next slide please. So journals are often selective and specialized in their coverage. So as I've told, there are several journals. So each journal publishes their work, have their unique way of publishing and also in the particular field as such. So that is why it is selective and specialized in their coverage. So they deal with one particular field they choose on. Okay, and then as they compete for papers, their identity serves as proxy for the research published there and its significance. So in a particular field, so let us take there are many journals which are involved in publishing articles related to molecular biology or microbiology. Okay, so amongst those journals, you will have to identify those journals which are having the very good what do you say, citation, very good impact factor and all those things. So that is why competition for papers and to identify the proper journal to publish your research work is also very important. Okay, so here comes the important criteria, that is the impact factor. What is the impact factor? Impact factor is a measure of citations to a particular journal, which is frequently seen as the means of determining the importance of a journal. Okay, so the importance of a journal or the quality of the journal would be judged by the impact factor that it has got. So how do you get that impact factor? Impact factor is got by measuring the citations. Citation here mean that, so when a particular author refers a paper published in certain journals for getting some information while he or she is carrying out his research work, so he will be citing or he'll be referring a paper. So that is the meaning of citation. Okay, so here impact factor is the measure of citation. So how many people have referred your research article that has been published in a particular journal? So through that there will be a metrics or measurement done, and that is how impact factor is being given or assigned to a journal. Okay, so it is very important for authors. It might be academic researchers, or it might be researchers who are actually working in the research institutes or laboratories. Okay, so impact factor is one of the important measure to select a journal. Can we move on to the next slide? So now comes the actual topic of what is indexing. Okay, so now until now we discussed what is the importance of publication, why do we need to publish, and what are journals, and why do you have to go for certain journals, and what is the impact factor, and all those things. So now we will deal with what is indexing. And indexing is an index is nothing but a list of items pulled out together for a purpose. That is, as you all know, when you're reading a book, it will have index page or content page. So index is nothing but you will be listing the items all together for making the reader convenient to understand what are the contents of a book or a magazine or a journal or anything as such. So indexing is nothing but it is a list of items that are pulled together for a purpose. So journal indexes, what are journal indexes? So now we are talking about indexing of journals. So journal indexes are lists of journals that are organized by discipline, subject or type of publication. Okay. So here journal index means the list of various journals that are available all over the world, organized, that is categorized based on the discipline they are working on, based on the subject, and also the type of publication, whether it is a review article, whether it is a short communication, or whether it is a full-length research article. So depending on the type of publication also, there will be a listing of the journals being done. Okay, so that is indexing. So journals included in an index are considered of higher quality than the journals that are not indexed. Okay, so you have to always publish your research work in indexed journals. Okay, this is because journals have to go through a vetting process to be included or indexed. So this is why do you have to publish your research work in indexed journals? Why? Because as I was telling, there is peer review process. The vetting process here means the peer review process that happens before publishing your research work. So the vetting process is very thoroughly done, and it will be judged whether the paper has to be accepted to be published in the journal. Okay, so that is why it is very important to choose the journal based on the impact factor and also the quality of the journal. When choosing the journal to publish your work, it is very important to know the journal index, peer review status, and the journal impact. Okay, so as I was stressing upon, so when you have to go for publishing your research work, you'll have to choose a journal. So before choosing the journal, what should you think of? You should think of like whether the journal has been indexed, whether there is a peer review process that is happening before publication, and then what is the impact of the journal, that is what is the impact factor of the journal. So you have to look for all these things before selecting the journal for publishing your research work. Okay, next slide please. So indexing or journal indexing is also termed as journal ranking. It is a widely used tool in academic circles in evaluation of an academic journal's impact and quality. So again, it is the repetition of the point that have been told. So here there are certain, in the field of life sciences, there are some best journals to publish a research work. So few among them are Nature, Science, Cell, Nature Communications, PLOS One, as such. So how are these called to be the best journals to publish your research work? That is based on the impact factor they have, based on the peer review process they do, and based on the citations they get. So that is how they are judged as best of the journals to publish your research work in the field of life sciences when it comes to life sciences. So similarly, in each field, there would be certain journals which would publish the research articles based on the quality of the journal and also based on the impact factor. Okay, next slide please. So indexation of a journal is considered as a reflection of its quality. Okay, so that is why indexing or indexation of a journal is showing the quality of the journal. So index journals are considered to be of higher scientific quality and are compared to be best than the non-indexed journals. Okay, recent reports have been found out that academic indexes such as Google Scholar, PubMed, and Directory for Open Access Journals are the top research starting points for most scholars. Okay, so it has been through several surveys and several methodologies through to analyze the academic indexes of certain journals, it has been found out that a few academic indexes such as Google Scholar, PubMed, these are certain frequently used tools to search for research articles. Okay. Then comes open access journals, which are favorite of researchers when it comes to publishing their research work. Because why? Because open access, as the name itself tells, it allows the members of the public to access the complete content of your research work. And also there are no paywall barriers. You don't have to pay for accessing a journal. So that is why open access journals are a very favorite choice of researchers. Like while choosing a journal, they look for open access journals as a primary factor. Okay, then comes additionally, many scholars also prioritize referencing and submitting to journals that are included in leading indexes because indexing is a marker of journal quality. So not only looking into the accessibility or open access journals, they also look for indexing of those journals. So where exactly these research articles or journals come under. Okay, next slide, please. So here are some examples of top general indexes that are available. There are many more, but I have tried to list out some of them here. These are some scientific indexes where certain journals are categorized under each of these indexes, and they work under these indexes. There are like as I've listed here, there are several of them like Scopus, PubMed, Google Scholar, Directory of Open Access Journals. Then comes Open Access Journal Finder. Then Journal Storage, that is JSTOR. The Scientific Electronic Library Online, that is Scilio. Web of Science, Science Direct, Think, Check, Submit, and Find My Journal. So there are many, numerous hundreds of other indexes which are available. So here I've tried to list some of them. That's all. Okay. So with the help of these indexes, researchers get an idea, or they try to analyze the journals to select the most appropriate or most suitable journal for publishing their manuscript. Okay, so they that is how they try to find out the journal which is indexed in which type of index they want to publish on, which type of journal is indexed in what category. They try to identify, and that is how they publish in such indexes. Okay. So when it comes to Indian scenario, there is something called as Indian Citation Index, which is abbreviated as ICI. It is an online bibliographic database which contains abstracts and citations from academic journals in India, okay, which are published in India. So currently ICI, it covers more than 1,100 journals from India, which are covering scientific, technical, medical, social sciences. Also, it includes area of work such as arts and humanities also. So there are journals in all these fields which are indexed under Indian Citation Index, that is ICI. So ICI covers data from 2004 onwards, and it provides full text of the title for open access journals, and it also has 300 plus open access. So all the journals, as I was telling, there are 1,100 journals in ICI. So all the journals are not open access. There are 300 plus open access journals which give you accessibility of getting information of the full text that is published. Okay. So here Indian Citation Index updates journal coverage by identifying and evaluating how do they judge, or how do they add on newer and newer journals to come under this index. That is, they periodically evaluate and they come to conclusion that whether the journal is useful, what is the quality of the journal, and whether it is of a predatory nature. That is, predatory nature here means simply for the sake of getting recognition, or simply for the sake of getting publication fees. Some journals might have been publishing research articles. So they look for all these criteria, and then only they periodically evaluate, and they keep them updated. The ICI index is being updated periodically by judging on these criteria. Okay. Next slide, please. So now, until now, we have understood about indexing, or how journals are being identified, or how a researcher identifies a particular journal to publish his research work based on indexing of the journals. So now we will understand how will you measure the influence and impact of the journals. Okay, so this is a little what do you say, very deeper insight into the knowledge about knowing impact factor and the other concepts of knowing the influence of the journals, how they are getting such a high impact factor and all those things. So there are several journal level metrics. Metrics here means measuring. Okay, so there are several journal level metrics that have been proposed based on citation. Okay, so based on the citations itself, there are journal level matrices that are being identified. So some of them are tools, some of them of these are the tools to measure the journal impact or the impact factor. So here are the three of them that are being listed, that is journal citation reports, SkyMago journal rank, and source normalized impact per paper. Okay, so these are the different tools or different ways of measuring the impact of certain journals. Okay, so the first one, that is the journal citation report. It is an annual publication by Clarivate Analytics. It was previously called as Thomson Reuters. Now it has been named as Clarivate Analytics. Okay, so JCR, that is journal citation reports, list the various journals which come under the category of natural sciences and social sciences, and what is their impact factor based on the citations they get. Okay, so this is one of the tools. Next slide, please. So as I was telling, they will be giving an impact factor based on the citation. So now we will come to know that what exactly is impact factor. Okay, so the impact factor or the journal impact factor is average number of times articles from a journal published in the past 2 years have been cited in the JCR year. JCR year. Okay, so here JCR means the previous thing that I have told, journal citation reports. Okay, journal citation reports are usually being published by Clarivate Analytics or Thomson. Earlier it was called as Thomson Reuters. So these are the people who just try to give the impact factor of the article of the journals. So how does a journal get an impact factor? So journal impact factor is nothing but it is an average number of times the articles that are published would be cited. Okay, in the past 2 years, they'll be looking for the data of past 2 years to give the impact factor of this year. Suppose this year 2020, if they have to give the citation index or impact factor of a journal, so what they will do is they would look into the average number of citations of the articles published in past 2 years. That is, they will look into journals published into 2018 and 2019, and those articles, how many times they are cited. They will look into those factors, and that is how they will determine the impact factor of a journal. Okay, so the impact factor is calculating by dividing the number of citations in the JCR year. So JCR here might be 2020, as I was telling, divided by the total number of articles published in the 2 previous years. Okay, that is divided by the total number of articles that are cited, which are published in 2018 and 2019. Okay, so that is how they calculate the journal impact factor. Okay, so higher the impact factor of a journal, higher is the quality of articles that are published in that journal. Okay, so higher the impact factor means the quality of the work that has been published in those research articles which are published in those journals are in such a way that they have got such an impact factor that so many researchers or so many people have read those articles to get the citation, and that is how they have got maximum impact factor. So higher the impact factor, higher is the quality of the articles published. Okay, so I have listed here some of those high impact factors. So a few of them are the New England Journal of Medicine, which has an impact factor of 70.6. Okay, then there is Lancet, which is a very famous scientific journal, which has an impact factor of 59.1. Then comes Chemical Reviews, which has impact factor of 54. So there are several more which are having maximum impact factor. So here I've tried to list impact factor of certain journals which are having a impact factor of up to 43.3. So impact factors can start from 0.2, 0.3, 0.5 also to a stage of reaching 70 as 70.6 as impact factors. Okay, so you can expect that for a journal to get an impact factor of 70.6, what might be the quality of research articles that they have published, and how many people have cited those research articles is also one of the main criteria. Okay. So here I have just put a screenshot of one of those journals, that is Plant Molecular Biology. I have put a red color box here. So there is indication of what is the impact factor of that journal. So the impact factor of the journal is the impact factor of the year 2019 is being in the bracket. It has been mentioned as 2019. The impact factor is 3.3. Okay, so the impact factor of Plant Molecular Biology journal is 3.3 for the year 2019. So how they've come to a conclusion for 2019? By referring the previous 2 years research articles that are being cited upon. That is, they will look for 2017 and 18 research articles and how many times they have been cited. Based on that, they will calculate this impact factor. And below that, there is one more thing that has been told also as 5-year impact factors. Few type of certain journals also try to categorize this impact factor as 5-year impact factor. That is, taking from 2019 backwards 5 years. So what is the impact of the journal? How many people or how many researchers have cited the research articles in this Plant Molecular Biology journal? So it is 4.06 is the 5-year impact factor of the journal. So you can expect that 5-year impact factor is more when compared to the impact factor that is mentioned for 2019. So 3.3 is lesser here, means in the past 2 years, very less people have been citing the Plant Molecular Biology journal when compared to the 5-year impact factor. Got it? Could you understand? So we'll move on into the next slide. So this impact factor information will be in the homepage of certain journals, and in certain journals you'll have to go for About Us section, or you'll have to click on the home page and try to know the search the impact factor or indexing of those journals which they would have been provided. Okay, this is one more example of an article, that is the one more journal, that is a Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry. Okay, so here again I have highlighted in the red box, which gives two type of what do you say, numerical numbers, which is told site score and impact factor. Okay, so here site score is 8.7 and the impact factor is 4.8. Okay, so now we came to know that what is impact factor and how do they assess the impact factor of a journal. So in the next slide we will see what is site score and how do they conclude that site score value or the numerical value that is being displayed. How did they get that site score value? So what is site score? Site score is nothing but it measures the average citation received per peer-reviewed document published in this title. Okay, so it is nothing but again an average number of citation received for one per peer-reviewed document. It is for one document. They look for the average number of citation, not as a whole. Okay, so site score values are based on citation counts in a range of 4 years. So impact factors look for 2 years, and here site scores look for a range of 4 years. It might be from 2000. Example here being given is from 2016 to 19. So the the research articles being cited in those 4 years would be taken as an average of how many citations have been done for the research articles published in that duration. Okay, so that is how they calculate the site score. So site score values are based on citation counts in a range of 4 years to peer-reviewed documents. It might be any document, like not only research articles, it might be review papers, it might be conference papers, it might be book chapters. So they will count all the citations of all types of publications that come under the journal. Okay, that will be published in same 4 calendar years, divided by the number of these documents in these same 4 years. Okay, so they will take the citations divided by their number, how many number of publications were seen in those 4 years. So this is how they come to a numerical conclusion of one number, telling that this is the site score of this journal. Okay, so the main difference is nothing but they take into account of the 4 years citation data, and they also take into account of not only the research articles, they take into account of other type of publications such as conference papers, book chapters, and review articles also. Okay, so that is about site score. Shall we move on to the next slide? Here, here it is a pictorial representation how site score has been calculated. So here a new site score methodology, that is site score for 2019, has been told here. How do they calculate the site score of certain journal in 2019? So the first line here tells citation, that is in orange color, and the second line tells about the documents that are being published, which is in blue color. And as I've told, it looks into 4 consecutive years. So if they're assessing the site score of the journal of 2019, they look into the previous 4 years for getting the data. So they start from 2016 to 19 and they collect the information. That is, site score of 2019 is nothing but A divided by B, the number of citation divided by number of documents. It might be any document. Like as I was telling, it might be a book chapter, it might be a review article, or it might be a or a conference paper, something like that. Okay, so this is how site score is being calculated. Next slide, please. So those two were the 2 types of methods which come under the category of SCR, that is Science Citation Index. Then comes the second type, that is SCImago Journal Rank. Okay, that is abbreviated as SJR. It is nothing but a measure of scientific influence of scholarly journal that accounts for both the number of citations received by the journal and the importance of the prestige of those journals which where such citations come from. Okay, so this is like don't go deep into thinking of it. It is nothing but, in simple terms, the citations would be taken here. It is again average number of citations taken, and after those citations are being cited by the authors, where exactly those authors publish their work. So they look into the prestige of the journal where that work has been published for. Okay, so that is how they judge this SCImago journal rank. Okay, so higher SGR values are meant to indicate great journal prestige. Okay, so higher, again, it is nothing similar to the impact factor. Higher the impact factor, higher the quality. So here, the higher the SGR value, so greater is the journal's prestige. Okay, then comes the next type of measuring system. Okay, journal metric system, that is source normalized impact per paper, which is also abbreviated as SNIP. So it measures the contextual citation impact by weighing citation based on total number of citation only in a concerned subject field. Not they don't go for broad spectrum articles. They look into only that particular stream or subject area, and they based on the number of citations they get, they give this value, that is source normalized impact factor per paper. This is okay. So the right side, I've given an example here of like two pictorial representations I've put. So this is a journal which is published in Elsevier. Okay, that is Public Health is the journal here. Here, the journal matrix of this journal has been published in all the types of journal metrics that are available. They have also given, like they have shown site score value, they have shown the impact factor, they have shown the 5-year impact factor of the journal, they have told SNIP score, they have told about SCImago journal rank. So these are the important points, or these are the important values that the researcher who is willing to publish his own research work looks for. He looks for these scores, that is, he might look for any of these journal metrics, and then based on those values, he might think upon publishing his work in these in these journals or not. Like based on these values, you will be assessing the journal to publish your own research work. Okay. So here you can see that very clearly this Public Health Journal has given the list of all the journal metrics that have adopted and what is their value. Okay. So this is how a researcher who is newly trying to publish, or an experienced researcher also who has published several journals, looks for the journal metrics, and based on these scores, he'll try to identify the journal to publish his own research work. Okay, so that was based on journal metrics, or based on the measurement of the scores that the journals have got. Now we will understand measuring the influence and impact of certain authors. Certain researchers and certain scientists have their own recognition and have their own influence in their concerned field of work. Okay, so how are they measured or how are they assessed? The first thing that you have to know is H index. That is, the H index is a measure, or it is nothing but a metric that is being used to evaluate the impact of an author or influence of an author. Okay, so the exact definition is being quoted here. H index is a metric for evaluating the cumulative impact of an author's scholarly output and performance. Cumulative impact means the overall impact or the overall performance of the individual in the form of publications or research articles he has got would be assessed to give the again, H index is nothing but it is a numerical value. To get that numerical value, like what is the impact or what is the scholarly research articles that the person has been published, and that is the way to evaluate the person about his output and the performance. Okay, so here how is it calculated, this H index? It is, the H index is defined as maximum value of H, okay, such that the given author or journal has published H papers that each been cited at least H times. Okay, H is number of papers that the author has published and how many times that paper has been cited. That is also important again here. So again, it is citation based. Okay, so the index works best when comparing scholars working in the same field. Okay, so it is a very easy tool to compare authors or researchers who are working in the field in the same field to identify who has a better H index. Okay, so how is it calculated? As I was telling, number of papers, which is told H, that have been received at least H citations. Okay, so if suppose you have two papers and those two research articles, and those two research articles should have also got 2 citations each one of them should have got 2 citations. So that is the meaning of H index and how it is being calculated. So an example is being quoted here. As an example, a H index of 10 means that among all the publication by an author, 10 of these publications have received at least 10 citations each. So H is nothing but the number of papers he has published, and that H is also the least number of citations that he has got. That is, if he has published, as I was telling, if he has published 2 research articles, so each of those articles should have 2 citations each. So if he has published 10 publications or 10 research articles, for each research article, he should have 10 citations for each research article. So that is how H index is being calculated. Okay. So this is it is a metric for assessing the author. So here I have put my own profile created in Google Scholar. So here the H index that has been mentioned for my profile is that on the right hand side, you can see that there is something called as citations, H index and I-10 index. Okay. So since 2015, so I have created my profile in 2015. So since 2015, there are so many publications that are listed here in the picture. So there are still several other publications below the last one, that is below 2016. So in this list, what they are telling is that the top 2 publications that are told are being cited. So only those 2 are the research articles that are being cited for my research work that have been published. Okay, so you can see that the first research article, differential expression of carotenoid biosynthetic pathway, has been cited 11 times. Okay, and the second article, barrier against the water loss, has been cited 8 times. So here as well, there are so many research articles that are published by myself, but there are only 2 articles that are being cited by people. So my H index is 2 here. Okay, the H index is 2 because only 2 of my publications are cited at least 2 times. The paper had to be cited. So as such, I've got 11 and 8 citations. So it is more than 2. So that is the H index of my publication. So H index is 2 for Shilpa. So that is how H index is being calculated. Okay. So several commonly used databases such as Elsevier Scopus, Clarivate Analytics, Web of Science, and Google Scholar provide H-index values for authors. So you don't have to sit and calculate your H-index, or researchers don't have to calculate their H-index as such by listing out all their citations and the research articles. So there are some certain databases who work on calculating this H-index. As I told, this profile of mine was created in Google Scholar, and Google Scholar automatically calculates the H-index. So similar to Google Scholar, LCVS Scopus, Clarivate Analytics, Web of Science also calculates H-index for authors. Okay. And also there is one software called as Publish or Perish, which is a very useful software, which is also used for calculating the H-index of authors. Okay. Next slide, please. And again, in the previous slide, once again, can you show the previous slide, Akshay? So in the previous slide, below H-index, there is something called as I-10 index, right? So what is that I-10 index? We will discuss about it now. So look into the value. I-10 index is 1 for my profile. So I-10 index is nothing but the number of publication with at least 10 citations each. Okay. So only one of my publications has received the 10 citations. That is, the first article had received 11 citations. So my I-10 index is 1. That is the reason I've got only 1 as the I-10 index. But that is because only one article has been cited by 10 people. That is the only article I have, the only article that has been cited 10 times. And that is why the I-10 index value for my profile is 1. So apart from H-index, I-10 index is also one of the author metrics, or a way to assess the authors. Okay, the value of I-10 index is also sometimes considered. Some of the other author metrics are something called as G-index is also available, and there is one more index that is called as creativity index. Like if there is any creative methodology or creative research that has been done, so based on that also they try to assess the authors. So that is called as creativity index. So the usually used terms are H-index and I-10 index to assess the authors credibility or authors influence in a particular field of work. So now coming into an end of this indexing and abstracting and all these how to calculate this impact factor, influence of the author and influence of the journal, all these things. So it was a little deeper discussion. So coming into conclusion, so as you all are still starting out with your research work, so after carrying out your research work, you will definitely get some results. So at that point of time, you will have to publish your research work. So while publishing your research work, you should choose the journals by looking into these points. Okay, so at the conclusion, I just want to stress upon these points. Before selecting a journal to publish your research work, look for these things. That is, a description about the review process. So does the journal has a thorough peer review process? You should look in for that. And does the journal contain articles that meet the criteria of scientific rigor and editorial quality? That is it a very apt journal? Is it the journal to publish your own research work? As I told, there are several journals, like amongst those several journals, there will be each of those journals who work on particular field. So you should select the journal in way that those articles that are published should have a real scientific rigor. That is, really there is something that is being worked on that is being published in such journals. And also about the quality of the journals. Editorial quality means that is again like the peer review process. Have they called the experts for the reviewing, and has the editor thoroughly checked about the language that you've published and the quality of the figures that you've published. So all these have to be looked into while publishing your research work. Then comes the citation index of the journal. As I've told, there are several indexes where the journals have been published. So citation index of the journal should be looked into. Then copyright information for authors. So the author would have written, it would be the document that he would have written about his own original research work. So copyright information is also very important here. So does the journal give the copyright information to the author? That should be looked into. And the next very important point is there free access for the articles in that journal? So does everybody have the capacity, or does everybody have the access to view the articles that are published in the journal. So that should be looked into. And then the next point is follow good publishing and archiving guidelines. That is, they should have a good history of publishing and archiving, in the sense it's nothing but citing the previous articles. Okay, then the next important point is information about the journal on website. So they should have their own website, and they should very clearly give the information by disclosing all the points that are needed for a journal to be indexed, and what is the impact factor, what are the different indexes the journal comes under, what is the editorial board. So all these things have to be very clearly put as the information to be known to the public on the journal website. Then comes the statement outlining about the ethical practices. So what ethical practices or professionalism has been adapted in coming out with this journal. So all these things have to be looked into for publishing a paper or selecting a journal before publishing a research article in any journal. Okay, so before going into the next part of activity that has been planned for you all, I want to ask, was the talk, did you understand the talk, and do you have any doubts? If there are any doubts, you can just raise your hand so that you will be unmuted, or you can also post your questions in the chat box. Do you have any queries or questions? The chat box is open. Okay, so there are no questions, or there is no raised hand that has been seen here. So we will move on into the activity that is being planned for you all today. Next slide, Akshay. The next slide. So here there's a question where I've given you 4 options for the question. So Seema madam has told about what is a publication. So the simple question that I'm asking you here is, what is publication? Publication is a document with copied work. It is a document with one's own original research work, or it is a document with falsification of data, or it is a document with incorrect conclusions. So you can type the option A, B, C, or D could be typed for as an answer for question number 1 that is being asked here. So what is the answer for this question, dear students? Yes, exactly. B is the answer. Publication is a document which tells about your own research work, right? So B is the answer here. So that is the correct answer. So the next slide, Akshay. Here, the second question is, why should you publish? So I was discussing about this. Why should you publish? So first thing is to disseminate the knowledge. The second thing is to get demotion. Then the option number C is to secure funds. And option D is to improve career prospects. Okay, so which among these options is correct? Why should you publish the work that you have done? Answer for question number 2. It is A, to disseminate the knowledge, to improve career prospects. Yes. Then only answers are for A and D. Is it only for disseminating the knowledge and to improve the career prospects? No, it is also to secure funds. Yes, Sahana. Good. A, C, and D are the options. So why do you have to publish your research work? It is to disseminate the knowledge, to spread the knowledge that you have obtained, the data that you have obtained through your research work, and to secure funds, and also to improve your career prospects. So B is the wrong answer. It is not to get demotion. Rather than to get promotion, you have to publish, right? Yes. So in the next question. So what is the general organization of a scientific publication, or what is the structure of a publication? So this was discussed by Seema madam. I have just put the first alphabet of those keywords or the structure of the article, how it has to be. So you can just type what does T stands for. T stands for, in the research article or a scientific publication, when it comes to structure of the research article, what does T stands for? General organization of a scientific publication or a paper, what does T stands for? Nobody is answering. What does T stands for? T stands for title of the paper. Okay? T is the title. Next comes A. What is A? What is A? Author, abstract. Yes. Author, list of authors and abstract. Both are correct. Then what does K stands for? Keywords. Exactly. Very good. K stands for keywords. What does I? I stand for? Introduction. Very good. Then comes M. What does M stand for? M stands for materials and methods. Good. Then comes R. What is R? Results. Very good. R means results. D. What does D stand for? D is discussion. Very good. Then what does C? C stand for? C. Conclusion. Yes. Good. Conclusion. Yes. And there is next one more A. What does A stand for? After conclusion, what is the last thing that you do? Acknowledgement. Yes, very good. You will acknowledge people who have supported you for all the work that you've done. Then comes R. What is R? What is R? After acknowledgement, what will be? Yes, references. Very good. So it is the last section of the research article that you write, that is references, right? So this is how the structure of a research article looks, right? Yes, we will move on into the next question. The next question is, what is the purpose of appendices in a publication? Appendices. Do you know there is something called as appendix or appendices in a publication? Yes, there is something called as appendices or appendix. What is the purpose? The first option is to describe the same data again. No, to provide supplemental data for detailed understanding. Yes, the answer is B. So it is giving the supplementary data, the extra information that you want could be collected from the appendix section or appendices. So for an example, somebody would have used a tissue culture media or some media. So if you want to know the composition of that media, you will the author would have mentioned the detailed components of those media that has been prepared in the appendices. So if you want the information regarding the components, you can read the appendix to get that information. Okay, so this was an example. So it provides the supplemental data or extra information that you need to understand more. Okay, so B is the answer. Correct. Very good. Next question. So what is peer review? Peer review of a publication means what? First thing is rejection by the project guide. So does the project guide do the peer review process? No. Initial decision by the editor to accept or reject. So is it the only decision by the editor to accept or reject? No, even that is not the option. Then comes thoroughly reviewed by the expert in the same field. Yes, option C is the answer. Yes, peer review is the process where the research article is very vigorously reviewed by experts in the same field. And option D is also wrong. It is reviewed by your lab mates or fellow mates. No, that is not the answer. Yes, peer review is something that has been thoroughly checked by the experts who have worked on the same research area. Okay. So the next question, please, Akshay. So impact factor, site score, and SNIP score. These are all what? They are reader metrics, they are author metrics, or they are journal metrics, or they are publisher metrics. What is the answer? What is the answer for question number 6? C. C is the answer. That is, all these are journal metrics. They are used to measure the influence or impact of a journal. So that is why all these are journal metrics. The answer is C. Correct. Yes. The next question. So what is H index? Again, H index is like what metrics? It is an author metrics or journal metrics or publication metrics or reader metrics. What is H index? Yes, A. A is the answer. That is, H index is nothing but an evaluation tool to assess a author or a researcher. So it is an author matrix. H index is an author matrix. Okay. Yes. Next question, Akshay. Okay, sorry. That's the end of it. So these are the activity questions that were planned for you. And still, if you have any questions or queries, you can type it in the chat box. I'm ready to answer the questions. And you can also type in the chat box, how was the talk? You can give your opinion about the talk. How was it? Did you, were you able to follow? What was the thing that you liked in, or didn't you like in this talk? You can all write. Any doubts? Doubts or queries could also be asked. Mohib, Dr. Mohib is asking a question that journal that money for publication, how was, like, I think the question is not complete. Maybe the question she's asking is many journals have publication fees as a criteria for accepting certain research articles. So yes, there are journal which are accepting research papers for for the sake of money itself. There are, those are called as the predatory journals. So that is why I was also stressing upon when I was telling about choosing your journals. So you have to look about those predatory journals also. Okay, and then try to, as far as possible, look into the index where they are published and look into the impact factor, and also try to read certain articles that are being published in those journals. Is it credible, or is it good enough to publish your research work? You can analyze. Okay, so rather than going for these kind of predatory journals which take money for publishing, it is better to go for free open access journals. Okay. Yes, any other doubts? Yes, thank you. Any other queries or doubts? I think there are no queries. Madhushri?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Really, it was a very informative talk. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, students, if you still have any questions, you can discuss. Ma'am, now principal ma'am is going to address. Ma'am,
Mugita?
yes, ma'am, you can address me.
Hello, could you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you have enjoyed all these days, workshop and talks. And I take this opportunity to thank Seema Taranam and Shilpa for meticulous expression of what are all the things which are required for the publication and how to identify the indexing of your paper published in a journal. It is very important for you to understand this, the importance of publication also for your career. You may pick up a scientific career or you may end up in some other career, whatever it is, even a teacher, a student, everyone needs paper publication for their career improvement. In this regard, I have already suggested all the teachers to take care of your projects and also to convert into publishable data. It is very important. It is not one single thing, like working is one thing and collection of literature is one thing and analysis is one thing, data analysis and scientific writing. I think we have covered everything starting from the research topic designing to till today that publication part. If you have any doubts, you can contact Dr. Seema. She is approachable and she is very good friend of mine and she will definitely help you in whatever you need. Apart from that, Seema is always there for us whenever we ask her for help. I really thank you, Seema, for your time and your patience for covering such a hard topic. This topic is not very small, soft and smooth running topic. This is little hard nut to crack kind of a topic, but you did your best. I know that it would have been a very excellent experience for all the students to listen to you. Coming to an end, students, now you have to start your work. We will have one brushing up session on Monday or on Tuesday, and we will give project-wise work, and you can be in touch with your guides. Maybe from Tuesday onwards, you have to start your presentations regarding your project work, how you are planned and what is your executive summary, what all the things you need to do, all these things. In fact, I want to tell you from 17th onwards, Bangalore Tech Summit is starting. It is virtual thing, online thing. And for that, I think they are charging around 1,000 rupees if you have to